Hello everyone, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about a rather unusual type of manifestation which goes under a couple different names, but it's basically a blend of Kong Dagua and I Ching. And it is complicated, but yet not as complicated as you might think. Now, this blends a bunch of Chinese metaphysics together. It uses the I Ching hexagrams along with the 64 mountain hexagram ring, so that gives you some locations. And it also uses a day, which is associated with the 64 sector Sanhe feng shui ring. So it is pretty complicated, but it does seem to work. So, you know, I would say go for it if you meet the requirements. In general, it is said that you have to have a fairly strong ability to manifest already in either Sanhe or, I'm sorry, in either Batzi or in Qimen for you to be able to use this easily. Now, if you want to know what it means by being a strong manifester in Qimen, that would be over 80 or above in your personalized element. And there's a specific one based on your day master. Or if you have the chief or nine heavens as your guardian spirit, then you're also good. So it's either this or it's this. And I do have a video called Personalized Manifestation that would give you more information and let you determine whether or not you're at 80% or higher. So for Batsa, you're either going to be at level 1, and here it doesn't matter if you have DE and clashes, but just level 1 of any sort, or if you have level 2 without a clash or a DE. If you have one of those, it lowers your ability. Now, you can watch my video called Batsa Manifestation, Choosing the Day, for more information to find out what you have here. Both videos can be found in my manifestation playlist, so this is the easiest way to find it. Now, if you have lower levels of either one of these manifestation types, you may have more difficulty in being able to use this type of manifestation with any consistency. That is, sometime you might be able to get it, sometime you might not. But you can improve your chances by being in a mini sector of your residence, but that is quite hard because it is a very small sector. So the Kong Dagua is based on the 64 hexagram ring. And if you want the strongest response to one of these manifestations, you should place yourself in a mini sector. It's about a third of a subsector. So this is quite small. So and this can be quite difficult to do unless you're good at geometry and you have a good floor plan and you've identified your house's facing direction properly. If you've done all that, you can do this. It just takes a bit of work. And for me, it takes about 1/3 of the work I would do for a full consultation. It would take 1/3 of that work to be able to find one sector, one mini sector in your house. So if you really want that and you don't want a full consult, it'll be basically 1/3 of whatever the going rate is for my full consultation. Now, there is also Adagua to consider, and if your Qua number, which is based on your time of birth, happens to be Adagua with the required mini subsector, or mini sector, I should say, you don't have a link to that particular hexagram because the hexagram is associated with that mini sector. And this angle, this 5.625 degrees, this comes from 360 degrees divided by 64. It's quite straightforward, but it looks a little weird. Now, the good news is you can choose which hexagram you wish to use for manifestation, and there are of course 64 hexagrams. Half of them are good, and you have access to roughly half of them through your cron number. I mean, some you're not going to be able to use, but there are many good ones out there. So if you can't use one, you can often use a similar one and still get the results you want. And you basically choose the hexagram by its name and its properties. You should not just choose it by its name because some of these names are a bit deceptive. If you have an I Ching or an I Ching, it's, I think, just two different dialects of saying the same words in Chinese. If you have one of these books already, you can use that. I like to use this particular website, and if you just Google Jing Tatari, this Tartarie, you will find it usually at the top of the list. And it does give quite thorough discussion of each hexagram, and you just click on the hexagram in the diagram they have of all 64 hexagrams. So it's pretty easy to find. You just have to pick out the right hexagram, but they're arranged in a very simplified order that makes it easy to find. Now, this method requires you to divide the hexagram, whichever one you want to use, into an upper and lower trigram. Now, these trigrams are also called guas. Just to be more confusing, they're also called guas. And these guas can be associated with directions through the later heavens bakwa. And so you probably, if you've been following much of feng shui or bazi or any of these things, you know we're entering period 9 soon. And there's a lot of talk about the Li Gua. And this is the Li Gua, the Li trigram. And it's associated with the south. I cannot remember the names of all of these, but this table is what you will be using to know how to do a manifestation for any type of hexagram. So the lower trigram indicates the 45-degree sector or 45-degree direction you should back to. And it's, of course, if you can be in the appropriate mini sector, that's better. But if you have a high level, you don't have to be in that mini sector. It still works without it. Now, the reason why it's the lower trigram that sets your direction is because when you create a hexagram, if you're not familiar with this, the bottom line is actually the first line. So this is your first step. The lower trigram is your first step, and so that's the bottom half. And but the top half still has meaning. The upper trigram will indicate the direction in which you should move, basically walk towards, once you have finished the manifestation. So you first put yourself in the correct 45-degree sector. And of course, the closer you can get to the center, usually the better. And you do your 64 to 1, or however you get into the alpha state of mind. You know, your brain waves are more alpha state. You do that. You then give your command, and the command is related, it should be related to the hexagram you're using. And then once you finish that, you get up and you walk towards the second direction. Now I'll give you an example. I think it'll be clearer once I do that. But there is also a pillar that is an element and an animal sign that is assigned to each one of these hexagrams. You should match the day that you want to do the manifestation to this pillar. And this is where the Sanhe comes in, because the Sanhe, there's some 64 hexagram, or I should say 64 sector rings in Sanhe that actually are related, they relate a pillar to it that is an element in an animal sign. And this is how it's all linked together. So I'm going to give you the example here. Most people, of course, are interested in the abundance hexagram because they like the name, but abundance may not mean what you think it means. Here, abundance means that of course you're not worried about losing your house, you're not worried about not having enough food to eat, but that also means you'll have a little bit of extra money left over so that you can do things that are fulfilling. That is, maybe learn a new subject or learn something that can help you earn more money, which can give you a little more abundance. Or it can be experiencing new things like traveling. Actually, when you get super rich, I think many super rich people actually don't feel like their life is terribly abundant because they can do anything they want, they can buy anything they want, they can experience anything they want, and after a few years they have nothing else they want. And so then I guess it becomes power, and this is why they get clingy to money so that they can influence politics. I don't know. But I actually think that highly, highly super rich people are not as happy as you might think they are. So abundance means you're not in need, but the difference is you actually feel fulfilled. You don't necessarily feel the need for more. So that's what the abundance hexagram actually means. So this is a little tricky. Of course, most people love the name, but you've got to be careful. This is why you need to read about what the hexagram means. Now, when it comes to what are the features here, well, out of Gua for this hexagram is 4, 6, and 8, and the pillar associated with it is the Earth Tiger. So you would be doing it on an Earth Tiger day to get the biggest bang for your buck. Now the sector, the mini sector, is just inside East 1. So this 67.5 is the dividing line between Northeast 3 and East 1. Is that really true? Yes. And so, but it's only the basically the first third of that sector, the subsector of East 1. So this is a small portion of East 1. Now, remember we break this into two different hexagrams, trigrams. So the bottom is the one that you are going to face towards. So you need to face towards the south. Anywhere in the 45-degree range is okay. Closer to the middle gives you a bit stronger signal, at least I think so. And then once you're done doing the standard manifestation, you stand up and you move towards the east. You only have to go a few steps. You're still moving towards the east. Now, there are times when you actually, depending on the hexagram you use, you may have to walk in the same direction you were backing to. So it helps if you actually have a swivel chair that you could just swivel while you're still seated. After you're done with your manifestation, you just turn around 180 degrees, stand up and walk. Otherwise, you have to move the chair out of your way to be able to do that. So it can still be done. If it's a stool, you can probably walk over it, but if it's a chair, the back might get in the way. So this out of Gua, what it means is if you have Gua numbers 4, 6, or 8, you do not benefit from using this hexagram. And that probably is going to make a couple of people watching out there, maybe quite a few, quite unhappy. But there are other hexagrams you can use. So don't despair yet. Also, if you have a year animal sign of the monkey, or if you're working, mostly that is you're a breadwinner for the family, not a teenager who's just working for play money, then if you have a monkey there, either you are not going to benefit because you're clashing with the tiger. And so you don't benefit from this hexagram either. And if you're talking about Adagua, being in this sector doesn't help. If you're not 4, 6, or 8 and you have an animal clash and you are in this sector, you're going to maybe get a slight boost, but it's still not going to be terribly strong because you have this clash. A clash simply negates the positive. It doesn't make anything worse, it just negates the positive. Now, if you cannot use the abundance hexagram because you either have one of these crown numbers or you have a monkey where you don't want it to be, you might use progress. That's actually, if you really want to move up in life, progress is actually better than abundance because abundance will make you happier with where you are, whereas progress will mean you actually make progress. Now, you're out of Gua here if you're 1, 3, or 7. So if you're out of Gua here, you will not be out of Gua here. But this must be done on a wood pig day, which clashes with a snake. So if you have a snake in your year animal sign, or you're a working adult and you have it in your month animal sign, you can't use progress either. However, if you do not have this, so here if you had this Quan number, but you had the snake instead of the tiger in one or both of these, you actually can't use either. There are others you can use. There is gradual progress. There are several that you might be able to use instead. So it is possible that you can't use either of these, but that's a very small portion of the people watching that can't use either one of these. So and if you can just go through this, looking through the hexagrams, breaking them up into trigrams, finding out all this stuff. And I do have a chart available on my PayHip store. It's not expensive. That will give you it will give you the hexagram. It will give you the name of the hexagram. It will give you the out of Gua numbers. It will give you the animal sign, the pillar associated with it. And by default, you'll be able to figure out the angle because I actually have the degrees written. I don't have it down to the 1/8 of a degree because you won't be able to see that, but you can get a good feel in between there. And of course, you're always aiming towards the middle so that if you're off by a little bit, you're still okay. So you can do this. I guarantee you there will be hexagrams out there that you can use that are good. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please feel free to contact me here if you have any questions or leave a comment. And again, my PayHip store is listed here. So if you want that 64 hexagram ring with all the bells and whistles, it is there. I don't know of any place else that has this. Even with the book that has all the out of Gua and the hexagrams, they do not give you the pillar, the animal sign, the element animal sign piece of information that you need. Thank you again for watching.